Right now, new developments on the man accused of a poisoning plot in Dane and Rock counties. Plus, President Trump meets with NATO's Secretary General to talk about Russia, the new pressure aimed at ending the war on Ukraine. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Spreiter. The man accused of poisoning women he previously dated is now heading to trial. Paul Van Dyne is charged with 2 counts of attempted first-degree intentional homicide and stalking in Dane County. He and co-defendant Andrea Whitaker face further charges in Rock County. A preliminary hearing for Van Dyne on the Dane County charges was set for tomorrow, but court records show that hearing was waived and Van Dyne will head to trial. Van Dyne and Whitaker are accused of using a variety of chemicals, including cyanide, to poison women who Van Dyne previously went on dates with. The investigation into the poisonings led to hazmat situations at multiple locations in Madison. Happening tomorrow, the man accused of abducting a Beaver Dam teenager will appear in court for an arraignment hearing. Gary Day faces 2 counts of abduction and 2 counts of child enticement in connection to the case. The charges allege that Day, at the time, took 6-year-old Sophia Franklin from her home. This was in February. It prompted a multi-state Amber Alert. 2 months later, Day and Franklin were spotted together at a truck stop near Omaha, Nebraska. Day is also suspected to be the father of Franklin's unborn child. He is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow at 1:30. Today, an Edgerton man is due in court facing hit-and-run charges while also injuring a police officer. It happened in Fulton near the Quality Inn on North Godey Road Saturday. Police arrested a 67-year-old man for his 4th OWI. Police are also arresting him for resisting and obstructing, causing substantial bodily injury to an officer. The suspect is due in court at 3 this afternoon. Right now, a Janesville man is dead after crashing into a semi near Stoughton. According to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, the 37-year-old drove an SUV into the back of a semi, stopped on the shoulder along I-3990. It happened around 6 o'clock this morning. The SUV driver died at the scene. The 22-year-old semi driver was not hurt. The Wisconsin State Patrol is investigating. Well, the hazy conditions continue for most of southern Wisconsin. First Warn meteorologist Savannah Brito is out on the weather patio with the certified most accurate forecast. Hi, Savannah.
Hi, Josh. Thank you. Lots of sunshine, but yes, we are dealing with hazy skies because those wildfires up north continue to burn. I think we are going to see continued improvement as the day progresses. We're still seeing some of that blue and yellow, but you can see that's shifted at this point in time well to our southeast. Some of that yellow gets wrapped back and as far west as Madison tonight into tomorrow, so we're still going to be dealing with hazy skies tomorrow morning. And the air quality alert, they did drop that a little bit early. That was expected to run through noon, but they actually just canceled that, which is some good news. Still going to see moderate air quality though overall, but we are continuing to see improvements at the noon hour. Up to 80 degrees, temperatures definitely warming. Dew points are not far behind that, so the humidity has returned. It was really pleasant yesterday. Unfortunately, dew points are back into the 60s, and we're going to see those even come up Wednesday and into Thursday when your next storm chances return. As we head for later this evening, 4 p.m. 85, that's where temperatures are going to top out. Most of us will be in the mid-80s. Can't rule out a couple areas reaching the upper 80s. That's more likely everywhere across southern Wisconsin tomorrow, though. And then Wednesday's storm threat right now, not calling for alert day conditions, but we are under a marginal low-level risk. Right now, gusty winds are going to be the biggest threat, but something that we're going to keep an eye on. A similar story for Thursday. Some of the area probably will get placed under a marginal risk. We're 4 days out, though. So right now, the Storm Prediction Center hasn't placed us under any kind of risk yet, but I do think by tomorrow we'll start to see some of that green creep up into southern Wisconsin. But Josh, overall, pretty pleasant day, just a little humid.
All right, Savannah, we'll see you for Maine weather here in just a few minutes. Now to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Today, President Trump is meeting with the NATO Secretary General at the White House. This comes after the president confirmed yesterday that additional Patriot missile defense systems would be sent to Ukraine, with the European Union reimbursing the cost. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had been pushing for the missiles. Now, this is all happening during a bipartisan push on Capitol Hill to impose steeper sanctions on Russia, as well as calls to use frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine.
I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days.
President Trump's latest rhetoric comes about 5 months after the Ukrainian president visited Washington. Still ahead for us on a Monday afternoon. If you have a question or concern about your plants or garden, now's the time to send us your questions via email to tips@channel3000.com. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will join us later in the broadcast with the answers. Again, that is tips@channel3000.com. But first, after the break, why multiple mushrooms are being recalled, plus how the European Union looks to reach a trade deal with the Trump administration.
The European Union is delaying planned retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products in hopes of reaching a trade deal with the Trump administration. The levies were originally set to kick in today. This after President Donald Trump threatened to slap a 30% tariff on goods from the EU and Mexico starting August 1st. Mexico's president says her country and the U.S. are, quote, seeking to reach an agreement so that these tariffs do not exist. Multiple mushroom recalls were announced over the weekend because the products could be contaminated with listeria. The recall affects Aunt Mid's and Peter sliced mushrooms, which were distributed in Ohio and Michigan, and also LLK Trading's needle mushrooms, distributed in New York. The Food and Drug Administration says no illnesses have been reported so far. Anyone who has the recalled mushrooms is urged to return them to the place of purchase for a full refund. And Superman soared to the top of the weekend box office, opening with $122 million in North America. Jurassic World Rebirth roared to the second spot with $40 million. F1 the movie hasn't run out of gas yet, hauling in $13 million to round out the top three. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's the stock report at the noon hour. The Dow is up 26 points, NASDAQ up 67, and the S&P 500 up 2. Pam has today's farm numbers next, and Savannah returns with the first warn forecast. And later on Live at 4, Madison is set to host the 2025 Northwoods League All-Star Game this week. What fans can expect in the 608. Welcome back. Let's check in now with Pam Yankee for the Midwest Farm Report on a Monday afternoon. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Josh. Yeah, busy Monday to recap all the activity we had over the weekend. Some of the weather got in the way for folks that were at the Sauk County Fair Friday night. No truck or tractor pull. Saturday night, the folks down at the Lafayette County Fair got washed out. But boy, in the meantime, we had a good time. First, a quick congratulations to 4th grader Annabelle Winkers from Fenimore, 5th grader Adeline Howe from Lodi. They've been selected as the state winners of Wisconsin's Ag in the Classroom essay contest. More than 1,500 students from across the state competed, wrote an essay with the theme of Wisconsin Tree and Me, how trees grow food and fiber. It's part of trying to make sure that kids are thinking ahead on their interaction with agriculture on a day-to-day basis. Congratulations, Annabelle and Adeline. They got a trip to the Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection to receive their award, which was a plaque and prizes valued over $250. Boy, you can't put a value on the great stories that come away from our county fairs. Over the weekend, my staff was at the Jefferson County Fair, the Lodi Fair. I was at the Sauk Fair. These are the kids that don't make the headlines, if you know what I mean. We're not talking about these kids because they don't get in trouble. They're so busy working with their animals and having fun in the barns that it really is a story separate from the county fair. But I wanted to make sure I shared some of these pictures of the hardworking kids that were there up in Sauk County. Like I said, every time that I do their youth livestock auction, it brings tears to my eyes thinking about all the stories. The kids at the Sauk County Fair said their number one experience that they really love at the fair, a water fight at the wash rack after the end of the fair. And that was from the little ones right all the way up to the seniors. So thanks again to all the supporters of the Sauk County Fair, Jefferson County Fair, Lodi Agricultural Fair. Your presence was definitely appreciated and welcome. And like I said, I love being a part of the activities. Well, there's not a lot of activity except sell-offs going off in Chicago right now, and a lot of that has to do with the tariffs. Remember, Wisconsin's key agricultural export markets, Canada and Mexico. So you would expect that dairy is down double digits on our fluid milk. Also, our product prices today, barrel cheese down a half, $1.67. 40-pound block cheese drops a penny and a half to $1.64 and a half. The AA butter down a penny today at $2.58 a pound, trying to get lean so they may still catch some attention despite what the tariffs may bring. So, yeah, Josh, great weekend. Like I said, the weather was perfect for our auction Saturday when I was up in Baraboo. But unfortunately, the overnight hours washed out a couple of their big events at both Lafayette and Sauk, but you can't beat the stories that you're going to find at the county fair.
Oh, it's incredible. And this week on Thursday, I'm going to be in Greene County to preview their fair in the 608, so I'm super excited for that. This is just an exciting time of year for all those local fairs.
Tell me if you want to come out for the Farm Bay Boogie on Saturday with the Dane County Fair. I'll be there.
All right. Hey, that sounds pretty good. All right, Pam, good to see you. Have a good afternoon.
See you later. You too.
Well, those hazy conditions continue right now. Here's meteorologist Savannah Brito with the latest first warn forecast. It's getting a little better, though.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of an improvement out there. We are seeing the blue and yellow still, but all of that being pushed towards Waukesha, Milwaukee, Kenosha. So we're not seeing that in Dane County or the Madison area right now. And the National Weather Service actually did drop the air quality. That's only confined to up near the UP and northern Wisconsin, that border up there. No one across southern Wisconsin experiencing that anymore. We still do have moderate air quality, though. Those levels between 51 and 100 still going to persist most of today, tonight, and early tomorrow morning before we see that smoke move completely out of here. This is what the smoke's going to do. So we're dealing with the light smoke right now. Overnight, some of that yellow gets pulled back as far east or as far as west as Madison. And I do think that's only going to be the early to mid-morning hours. Then overnight into Wednesday, most of that smoke moves out of here. I do think with the next system, that'll push it out briefly with the storm chances that return Wednesday and Thursday. But then I do think we also could see some hazy skies and the wildfire smoke return after that, mainly Thursday into Friday. 80 right now at the airport, 82 in Verona. Most temperatures across southern Wisconsin pretty comfortable. The difference between today and yesterday, though, we do still have a lot of sunshine, but dew points, those are up a lot compared to where we were sitting. Very comfortable, only about 60 or in the lower 60s yesterday. Now some areas are pushing the upper 60s. Monroe's at 67. Our dew point here in Madison, 64 and 68 in Wisconsin Dells. Same with Camp Douglas. Some areas are even close to the 70-degree mark, and that's really where we're going to sit the next several days. Expect those humid conditions to stick around. The good news is we do see them dip dramatically with that cold front Wednesday night into Thursday, but then Friday afternoon into Saturday with more rain chances that return. That's when we see those bump right back up to 70 or maybe even into the lower to mid 70s. So humidity sticking around. Those storm chances that I was talking about, pretty much everyone is included in the green, including Madison, and then areas as far north as Black River Falls. This is a low-level threat, but overall gusty winds right now look to be our biggest thing across southern Wisconsin. I do think all modes of severe weather could be possible depending on that ultimate placement of the warm front. We're not calling for alert day conditions yet, but something to be aware of. I do think some stronger storms are in the forecast during that time frame. And we're mainly looking at later in the day, Wednesday afternoon and evening, and then behind that low pressure system, we could still see some lingering showers Thursday. Right now, Friday looks dry, sunshine returning, and like I mentioned, I think some haze could return then too. Overall, the weekend right now, Saturday looks dry, Sunday a few chances for showers. I don't think it looks like a washout right now. Monday looks to be our better chance compared to what we'll see over the weekend. So got a couple of drier days ahead, Josh.
Yeah, and 70s. It's been a while since we've had highs in the 70s.
I like it. I just like the lower dew points we had yesterday and then what we'll see later in the day Thursday.
Comfortable. All right, Savannah, thank you. Now let's see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
When a recipe is really good and flavorful, we often try to find fun and creative ways to describe it. And when we tasted the pork roast that we're sharing with you today, the first word that came to mind was firecracker, since the flavors just exploded when we tasted it. Let me show you how to make it so you can have it for dinner tonight. The first thing we do is cut a crisscross pattern on the top of a boneless pork roast. Cutting this pattern will help our glaze stick to the pork while ensuring that there's lots of flavor in every bite. Now, we season it with some salt and pepper and place it in a roasting pan. To make it extra special, we glaze it with a mixture of barbecue sauce, orange marmalade, a bit of hot pepper sauce, and a little horseradish. Then we'll spoon half of this over the roast and into the oven it goes. Then after a bit, we'll spoon on the rest of the glaze and cook it until it reaches 160 degrees. After it rests for a few minutes, cut it across the grain and serve it with the pan drippings. It's full of flavor, but not too spicy. One forkful, and you'll know exactly why we were so excited about this. To get the recipe for our firecracker barbecue pork, simply head over to our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found an explosive way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Ahead at noon, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here answering your plant and garden questions. You can email them to tips@channel3000.com, and we'll get the answers next. Welcome back. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here answering your plant and garden questions. Email them to tips@channel3000.com. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
What do we got here?
So this is it's an ornamental perennial grass, and I thought it was a carex or a sedge called ice dance, but it's not. It's actually a little blue stem.
It's pretty.
Little blue stem is a native grass here. It does really well in sunny spots. It withstands drought because it's a native here, and this is brand new. I've never seen it. Super cool.
Nice little greenery.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get to the questions. We're going to start off with Deb. Deb wants to know what she can do about her tomato plant dying from the bottom up, and if there's anything she can do to prevent the bottom of ripening tomatoes from rotting.
So two things. The dying of the leaves from the bottom up is one of the tomato blights, and what you should do is pick off all those leaves, and you could use a fungicide. One of the blights kills the plant, the other blight just sort of kills off leaves from the bottom up. Any watering is splashing it up, so you want to remove those. As far as the fruits rotting, that is called blossom end rot, and that is because it's due to a calcium shortage. So you can get a fertilizer with calcium, and the other thing you want to do is, if that tomato is in a container, you want to make sure it stays evenly watered.
Awesome.
It was a complicated question.
Yes, it was.
I know. Okay.
That's all right.
All right.
And we appreciate she sent a photo in, and also Lisa did too. She wants to know if there was anything she can do about a brown spot on her arborvitae.
So it looked to me, Lisa, like a neighborhood dog maybe peed on your arborvitae. Or a squirrel or something has broken that branch. So I would check for that first. And if not, dogs have really acidic urine, some dogs do, and it will cause browning on grass spots in your lawn, and also on evergreens.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it is the worst.
All right, let's get to Jan. Jan asks, what is your opinion on beetle bags? Yay or nay? They say, she said that they are eating her sweet potato vines.
I am on the nay column, unless you have a really big property and you are drawing the beetles away from your plants. Those bags are loaded with a pheromone. I'm assuming we're talking about Japanese beetles. And it attracts beetles from all over the place that then get in there. And then once the bag is filled, then the beetles are still smelling the pheromones. So they're just hanging out and then eating whatever you have. So get rid of the bag. You can use for the short term a floating row cover or something. And there are also some really effective pesticides that will take care of Japanese beetles.
A big old nay.
A big old nay, sorry.
Question number 4 comes from Karen. Karen says, can she still prune her hemlock, or should she have done that in the spring? She has a 7-foot tall and a 5-foot wide hemlock.
So hemlocks fall into the category of evergreens that like to be pruned in midsummer. So end of July, early June, now that the new growth has hardened off. So this is the perfect time to do it. You can shear it. Try not to puncture the green layer, because hemlocks will develop new buds this year for next year's growth. So if you think about it, you've got a green layer and then it's empty on the inside. Don't get into that inside layer.
All right. Question number 5 comes from Jenny. Jenny sent us a picture asking about her orchid, which recently lost all of the flowers and the stems turned brown. The leaves are green. Can it be salvaged?
Yes. So it sounds to me like it's just done flowering. So cut that flowering stem back to those green leaves, and then put the plant in a spot where it gets bright but indirect light, like an east window without the sun directly on the leaves. Give it some water once a week, fertilize it, and it should be fine. Depending on the conditions, it may or may not be rebloom, but flowers falling off and turning brown is not a death knell for orchids.
All right, question number 6 comes from Patty. Patty asks, is it best to let asparagus go to the seed or top the stalks once that has happened? We'll start with that question.
Yes, I like to let them go to seed. And those little berry things are the seeds for next year. Just leave them there, and when the leaves The little needly leaves start to yellow. You cut them back then. It's usually at the end of the summer.
Some good questions today.
It was, and we got through a bunch.
Yeah, we cruised through a ton of them. All right, thank you, Lisa. Let's go to Savannah now with a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. We'll have lots of sunshine. That's expected. A little hazy out there, but not as bad. We're continuing to see some improvements with that. Temperature is still expected to reach the mid-80s this afternoon. And then we'll be in the upper 80s near 90 tomorrow. Still going to see some haze out there tomorrow morning. The good news is our overall air quality, that's improved. So the National Weather Service office in Milwaukee did drop our air quality, and that's for most of the state except far northern Wisconsin. Storm chances return for Wednesday and Thursday. Some of those definitely on Wednesday could be on the stronger side. Looks like some sunshine will return for the majority of Friday, and temperatures it'll actually be a little cooler than normal. We're back down to the upper 70s, Josh.
All right, Savannah, thank you. Thanks for watching News 3 Now Noon. Coming up next is The Bold and the Beautiful. Next newscast is at 4. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.